Cyno will ban your enemies into the Shadow Realm, and today I'll be telling you how to build him best. Let's get into it. So what does our King of Judgment use? None other than 4-piece Thundering Fury. This set provides insane quality of life to Cyno. You can cast more skills, which make his particle generation go up, so your rotations can end faster. Your buffs will also have 100% uptime on this set. As for his second best set, 4-piece Gilded Dreams. Nice passive for Cyno, providing him ample EM and attack percent. But no, you won't get that much attack percent out of Gilded Dreams. His best teams don't feature a lot of electro characters. Aside from that, his second best set, 4-piece Thunder Soother, can work and aggravate Cyno, but not as much in Hyper Bloom. Enemies aren't affected by electro long enough, due to the constant Hyper Bloom reactions. But if you use Fischl, this won't be a problem anymore. 4-piece Gladiators is a decent pick on Cyno. It's very cheap, and if you have good substats, then it'll be very consistent and solid. 2-piece mix and match sets include 2-piece EM, electro percent, attack percent, and ER percent. Mix whatever pieces have the strongest substats. Good placeholders until you can get a 4-piece set. Now for main stats. You can go for either EM, damage percent, crit percent, or attack percent, damage percent, crit percent. EM is usually his best in slot. It's especially great in Quick Bloom, his current strongest archetype. Same for Hyper Bloom. Attack percent becomes an option when you play Aggravate. Use whichever stance has better substats for you. Attack percent is also quite nice when paired with high base attack weapons. As for substat priority, it looks a little something like this. Now for ER. Cyno is very burst reliant, and an 80 burst cost is pretty thick. Pause the video if you'd like to read for longer. As for his artifacts rankings, let's take a look. Pause if you'd like to read for longer. Moving on, what weapon does our general need to perform best? Well, R1 Staff of the Scarlet Sands, easily Cyno's best in slot pick, tailor-made for him with a perfectly synergizing passive. You get more EM scaling out of this weapon, so make sure to use an EM Sands. That stat in general gets huge value when paired with this choice. Good weapon in general as well. R1 Homa is a solid stat stick for our police dog. Nice, but you won't ever be using the passive. It's a very flexible weapon. R1 Jade Spear is another nice stat stick weapon with similar benefits to Homa. Nice attack percent, and unlike Homa, the passive has some synergy here. R5 Deathmatch is a very strong 4-star Cyno choice with a great passive, but you do need the Battle Pass for it. It is also, in general, the best option among the classic Battle Pass weapons. But R5 Battle of the Fjords rises to challenge Deathmatch. This is a new Battle Pass option introduced in Fontaine with a perfect passive for Cyno. Free EM! Definitely a strong choice for Quick Bloom. If you don't have anything better and are willing to spend, go with one of the Battle Pass options.
Thank you.
But if you're strict free to play, then R5 White Tassel will do the trick. It might have a low base attack, but 48% normal attack damage at R5 is no joke. The crit rate substat comes in handy, as a free-to-play friendly as it gets. R5 Missive Wind Spear will be the replacement for White Tassel, if you happen to be around during the 3.1 event, so hopefully most of you should have one. Then we have R5 Katane Cross Spear, but mind that you can't use his burst right after using a skill cast. It'll drain some of your energy, so not ideal, but it is functional. I think Cyno's free-to-play options aren't that strong. It's worth considering Battle Pass at least once to pick up Fjords or Deathmatch for him, but White Tassel will still service. Have a look at these rankings. Pause if you'd like to read for longer. By the way, if you're enjoying the video, why not consider liking and subscribing, maybe even leaving a cool comment down below. If you do, Cyno will riz you up with his next joke.
Drop the roof and let the smoke clear.
Now, where does Cyno work? Cyno works in 3 major teams: Quick Bloom, Hyper Bloom, and Aggravate. Quick Bloom is Cyno's new best variant. This team uses characters that apply Hydro slowly. This triggers less Hyper Blooms, but gives more quicken uptime. The core consists of Mr. Cyner, a Hydro of low application, a Dendro unit, and a flex slot. You can use another Dendro unit or an Electro unit for the final team slot. Cyno's best Quick Bloom team right now is Farina, Baiju, and Nihida. All units in this team complement Cyno's long burst duration. Recently released Farina is an excellent choice for Cyno. Slow hydro application to allow for less hyperblooms, great sub DPS, and best of all, a huge damage percent bonus buff. Lovely unit. Otherwise, Yolan will do thanks to her ramping A4 passive and slow hydro application. Great sub DPS as well. These are the only two good hydro options for Quick Bloom. Baiju is an excellent choice for Cyno. His shield lasts for most of Cyno's burst duration, plus some extra buffing from Baiju's A4. Being the best healer in the game is also a huge plus. I'd say that while Baiju's a great unit I recommend in general, Cyno mains in particular should really consider him. Nahida is the obvious last choice. Great Dendro application, great burst, and passives, which tie Dendro together very nicely. Use her if you have her. Her main flaw is that when Cyno kills a wave of enemies, you have to swap off the applied Dendro marks again. Cyno in general has always had an issue with multi-wave content. This shouldn't completely stop you from using Nahida though. If you don't have Baiju, Cookie's a perfect flex to heal a team. Digital also works as a final slot if you're using Yolan, but then you want Prototype Amber on Nahida. Then we have Hyperbloom teams. Here, Cyno makes up most of his damage with Hyperblooms. The quicken uptime is much lower, but they still occur. This time, use Shengcho for good hydro application. You can use either Baiju or Nahida for Dendro app, and Fischl or Cookie for a final slot. Farina in Hyperbloom is not a good pick, since Hyperbloom is a transformative reaction, and therefore, her buff would be wasted here. But, Quick Bloom teams are far stronger than Hyperbloom teams, so if you have access to Farina or Yolan, you should stay within Quick Bloom. And then Aggravate teams. Aggravate Cyno isn't that good at low investment, but if your Cyno has cons, this is an option worth looking into. Core consists of Cyno himself, an Electro, a Dendro, and a Flex. Your Electro can be Fischl for her great A4 procs and particle generation. Beto also works for AoE scenarios, and Cookie for healing. Baiju or Nahida are of course the ideal Dendros to use, and for your Flex, Kazuha for damage bonus percent and VV. Sucrose's EM share works nicely here too. Zhongli also works very well since Cyno can get knocked over a lot, so a nice pick. I will say this now, DMC sucks. DMC sucks for Cyno. In every team, get a 5-star Dendro option, otherwise Cyno isn't worth playing. Great, now you know who your doggo works with best. But what does the dog do? Well, why don't we take a look at Beastly Cyno's talents. First, his normals. Just 4 physical strikes in a row, nothing too special. His skill's got far more weight to it. A shot of electro damage will happen, dealing some single target electro damage. But during Cyno's burst, his skill gets upgraded when you see this eye symbol. Press his skill every time you see it. When you do, a much larger blast of electro DPS happens. It'll also be a lot stronger under his burst. On top, it extends the duration of his burst. Now for the main meat of his kit. Cyno's burst. Dad jokes man will turn purple. Then a few things will happen. Cyno's attacks convert to electro damage, which cannot be overridden, so C6 Bennett and Chongyun's skill have no effect on him. He gains a chunk of EM and interruption res, plus immunity to electro charged, a nice bonus. His burst can last for 18 seconds max. That's a long duration. When you swap off-field with Cyno, his burst disappears. So multi-wave content is a bit nightmarish with him, but in single target, this ability thrives. His burst also has its own normal scalings, so leveling his normals will not make his burst stronger. Now for his passives. Cyno's A1 is what that huge eye during his burst is. This ability is what empowers his skill and makes it more of an AoE ability since it covers a wide area. Pretty good A1, very integral to his kit in gameplay. As for his A4, Cyno gains a damage increase to his burst-enhanced normals and skills. This scales off his EM, making that an even more valuable stat to build on him. Now for talent priorities. They're quite obvious. His whole kit centers around his burst, so level it first. Cyno's enhanced skills can do a buttload of DPS, so don't miss out on leveling it either. His normals have nothing to do with his burst. It's the same as Raiden's burst, where leveling NAs does nothing. Don't level his normals, or you'll have to eat pickles every day for the rest of your life. Perfect! Now you know how your dog does business. But how do you play him? Let's take a look at Cyno's combos. Cyno's playstyle is very straightforward. Use his skill into his burst of final particles, spam normals, and his skill when the eye appears. Go again, skill when eye. Keep repeating that until the end of his burst duration. Awesome! Now your Cyno's geared up and ready to rumble. But what if you want even more bark and bite? Let's bring your Cyno to absolute justice. What are his cons like? More normal attack speed. Pretty solid, grants you more freedom with attacking and combos. Good stuff. You can stack up to 50% electro damage bonus with this con. That's a whole extra electro goblet. Great C2, a huge boost for Cyno's DPS. A nice +3 talent increase to his burst. Cool stuff, appreciated upgrade. Lowers team-wide ER requirements. Pretty mid considering it's a C4. Only picked this up on the path to C6. A +3 increase to his skill, very welcome increase as well. You can shoot off 12 to 16 more AoE strikes which come from his A1 per burst. This is a huge increase for Cyno's personal DPS, and a solid C6 in general. Well, Cyno is expensive. He's a hyper carry, it's expected. When you pour the right amount of time and resources into him, you come out with a quick blooming legend. If you're looking for a powerful electro DPS, Cyno's a fine choice. But I'd only recommend him for endgame players with his ideal teammates. Hopefully this guide was able to get your Cyno howling with power. Well then, this has been just— Hold on! My last chance to tell a Cyno joke! Why are fish so smart? Because they live in schools!
What the hell, you?